Hello, 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 everyone. It is Stevie Aisha Mills, and I am back for another episode of The Conversation. On The Conversation with Stevie, we talk about the why behind what people do. And you know I always feature the best of guests. I love my guests. They're so amazing and awesome. And today is no different. We have Leslie Flowers. She is a speaker and a twice Amazon bestselling author. She is a trailblazer for women in business, and she has discovered how to usher women into the 21st century with confidence and empowerment like never before. Wow. She is based on 12,000 hours of teaching women the timeless principles of success and universal law required to match 21st century business success. Leslie has cracked the nut on unbridled success by teaching women how to build confidence, harness the power of positive belief, and take inspired, structured, and consistent action. Her 2016 dream came true last year at Excelerate Experience 2016, a sold-out event, providing women the knowledge and motivation to ask for what they deserve and be paid. Yes, I love that. Accelerate 2017 will be November 3rd in Durham, North Carolina. She is a seasoned presenter, majoring in drama at San Francisco State in the 60s, and leader, moving women for decades to find their unique purpose and voice and how to use it to influence results. I can feel that this is going to be a dynamic conversation already. I love all of that. So, Leslie, welcome to The Conversation with Stevie.
Well, thank you for inviting me, Stevie. I'm happy to be here.
Yes. Get into the first question, and that is, tell me how you just show up in the world, because you're so phenomenal. We just read that through your bio, but tell me, where did that spark? Because I love all of that. It just jump-started my afternoons. So did you always grow up like that? Or because all of those words, accelerate and awesome and empowering and confident, they just sent chills throughout my body. So tell us the backstory.
Well, no one's actually ever asked me that question before. And you made me think about really what it is. This is how I've always been. Ups and downs. I've always been a dreamer, right? I'm a Sagittarius. I'm a philosopher, a thinker, a singer, a dancer, extroverted, right? Hungry for knowledge. Very often aim, fire, and then ready, like shooting my own self in the foot. My whole life has been that way. Never boring, always in action. Right, so really, this is who I've always been. I don't know another way to be. You know what I mean?
Wow.
So ask me another question around that.
I love that, and I am definitely. We're going to have a conversation today. I love that, because when you said that, I don't know another way to be, that is profound. That is, you need to tweet that, send it out, because I say that because so many people we always try to find another way to be. When you say, I don't know another way to be, that's amazing, because you stuck to that. You stuck to that, and that is applauded.
I didn't always stick to it. Actually, I tried to be what other people wanted me to be. Right. I mean, I've tried my whole life to fit into other people's perception of me. But it's only in the last 5 years, Stevie, that I've realized that some people are going to like me and some aren't. So as long as I'm following my heart and not violating the rights of anybody else, it doesn't matter what they think. And that's the big breakthrough. Because I think we're always trying to measure up based on other people's perception, and we'll never succeed 100%. If we're looking for those who accept us, we'll find those. Unfortunately, most of us are gathered around people who don't accept us and who don't look for the greatness within us, but rather judge us, and that's kind of our environment. So I've struggled with it And even just recently, I had an issue where someone asked me not to be who I was. They wanted me to stop being outspoken and self-expressed, and they wanted me to be meek. They didn't say it quite that way, but they were disappointed that in who I was, right? So I was still struggling with it. And, of course, by this time my intuition is strong enough to say, right, that's not the place for you to be, right? That's the group of people who don't love you the way you are. There's other groups of people who love me the way I am. And don't you think that's true for everybody?
Yes, I know it's true for me. I know it's true for me because my testimony was definitely because my name is Phoebe. So growing up, I always wanted to blend in. Even I wanted my mom to change my name to Samantha, Stephanie, whatever, because I would always get questions around my name. And that, furthermore, had me stick out. And so, very much like yourself, until very recently, probably when my book came out, Cultivating Your It Factor, that's really the year before I made a concrete decision to stop all that. And I think one of the things, and I want you to talk on this too, is sometimes the perceived thing is that we think people want us to be something else but us, but our true people, our true tribe, as if you will, are the ones who want us to be exactly who we are. So it's kind of like a dog chasing its tail. We think that we want to or should be someone else or a different version of ourselves, but our people who are going to buy the tickets to our events or going to buy our books or going to listen in today, those are the people who are meant for us. And those are the people, if we find enough of them, I talk about megaphone marketing, just amplifying your message, those are the people who will connect to us. So what do you think?
Well, that's true. That's a fact. And those people also leave us, right? So whether they are ready for another teacher, ready for another person to follow, ready to step out on their own, right, rather than following someone, being a leader. So, and because they're human, even those people who profess to love us as we are have their moments of judgment, which cause us pain, and, and then they leave. And new people take their place, there's no doubt. But I don't think that you can ever really please anybody. The only person that you really need to please is yourself and your relationship with the universe and Creator. It's almost impossible to do because we're human. We're not robots. So we can have the purest heart and then we might say something ugly. So, does that answer or does that focus on your question?
Yes, and I think that it goes on with what you are saying about being a trailblazer for women in business, because what you're saying, and what we know for sure, by definition, a trailblazer is one who blazes a trail and who goes forth. And if we were to shrink down into these robotic natures, then we can't be a trailblazer. Does that make sense? There's no.
Yeah, and not everybody is meant to be a trailblazer, and people are meant to be good followers, right? And a good leader has also experienced complete surrender at some point in their life as a follower, because how could you be a good leader if you couldn't empathize with those that are following you? If you've walked in their shoes, right, you understand where they're coming from when you're in a leadership position, right? So now we got off track.
No, we're right on track. Trust me.
Okay.
Trust me, because we're talking about trailblazing, and we're talking about how we can usher women into the 21st century as part of what you do. So my next question to you, when you were talking about the people being followers, right? So to usher somebody into the 21st century, what is it about the 21st century that has been significant to this point in time that has never been done before when you say the 21st century?
Well, I think I understand. Is your question, how do I do that, and what is missing?
Exactly.
Okay, so I discovered this, through a touch from the universe, if you will. I'm extroverted, and I've been involved in personal development for 20 years. I've done every study, every transformational technology from 96 all the way to 2008. And then 2008, I made it a point to become a world-class expert on Napoleon Hill's work and Think and Grow Rich. And so I began doing masterminds in 2008 with men and women. Primarily, I noticed that women. So really what it is, this 21st century context has developed over 200 generations, and it's primarily male, and it's based on these principles of success. But I didn't know. I just loved doing masterminds and studying Napoleon Hill's work. I wasn't sure why, other than I did it really well. And in the beginning, I was one chapter ahead of my whole mastermind group. So it was a teaching mastermind. Already I was certified as a coach, right? And during that time, I became a certified keynote speaker. And I was older, so therefore I went to work with people like Bob Proctor and Steve Seamold. I wanted to work with the best because I figured I was already old. I was already pretty good at what I did. So I realized, so in 2008 I started doing masterminds, and I did them free until I felt as though I was an expert at the material, and I did them in person with 8 to 15 people, and I would have 2 or 3 going each week on different weeks. In fact, I was working full time. So I actually consolidated my work schedule, corporate, to 4 days a week, Monday through Thursday, and then on Friday and in the evenings I ran these masterminds and worked myself up into being pretty darn good at these complex concepts and articulating them into bite-sized nuggets that you can not only get but then apply. And then in 2013, I was at a very small luncheon where the head of the North Carolina Council for Women was sharing an executive summary, Stevie, of a report that the state had commissioned the IWPR, Institute for Women's Policy Research in Washington, D.C., about the general economic status of women in North Carolina. And the result was, of course, that women are earning far less than men, 16.8% or 17.5%. And what struck me that day, and that was in 2013, maybe it was in 2012, the end of 2012, what struck me was that it would be 2054 before women doing the same work as men would be paid the same. And so immediately I saw myself as a great-grandmother and my grandkids bringing me macaroni and cheese and beefaroni, and that wasn't going to work because I'm a bacon-wrapped scallop kind of gal. And in that moment, when she gave that statistic, I got the touch from the universe, the reason why I had been doing this work. I just loved it, and people were getting results, and I was getting better and better, and I was playing at that business because I had a full-time job, right? So I really was straddling both. I didn't really need the money. And so the first couple of years, I didn't charge anybody while I was learning. And they were just, doing beautifully. So in that moment, in that luncheon, I got my answer. This is what women have no clue about. They don't know these things. Men know them, but they have them on an internal level. So it's almost habitual or on a DNA level. So they don't know that they have these skills that make them successful. So therefore, they can't use them purposely to do better than they're doing. Now, there is a whole sect of men that are starting to realize this, and they're kind of moving away from the testosterone, square shoulder, compartmentalized thinking of the majority of adult males that we know today, right? And they are kind of lost in between where women are very intuitive and developing our awareness, and men who are not interested in that or any of the woo-woo, and they're a lost group. So anyway, I realized that that's what women didn't know. And in that moment, I knew what my purpose was. I was already really good at articulating the concepts and paring them down very simply, because in Think and Grow Rich, after reading it 80 times, what I can tell you is it is the New Testament for achievement, and if you follow it, you will be a millionaire and happy and healthy, right? And it's sold 70 billion copies, but only a few people actually follow it for all the different reasons that we have for not continuing. Well, I continued, right? And so what I've been doing since 2013 is teaching women through Teaching Mastermind and then the actual Mastermind portion where we work on problems together, through setting a goal every quarter in their business, and we are now in our 17th consecutive quarter. The results are extraordinary, and they're every day now. So if you can imagine being wildly successful and it's routine, that's what's happened since 2013. So it was all God-given, if you will. I didn't know why I was teaching this stuff other than I love to perform, right? And I love teaching, right? That's my purpose. So I got to do it with 8 to 15 people who didn't know anything about it, and I got to be the teacher, right? So, I mean, I was living my childhood playtime while I was working Monday through Thursday, earning money to play like this. So I'm going to pause now and let you respond.
Oh, I was loving that because it just happened to you said a lot in that. You said, especially when you were talking about Think and Grow Rich, because every mentor that I have had in the last few years has definitely talked about this book. So I know that Success Leaves Clues, right? And so and then you went on to say you read it 80 times, which means consistency of action, which means also when you said that you were you didn't know why you were doing this, but it was something that God was telling you to do. So not only were you consistent, you were listening and following lead. And so I just think all of that is amazing. And as we talk about what you've done and we talk about where you're going, because we do definitely want to talk about your event that's upcoming this year, I want to talk about where you were before you said, I want to do this event. Like, what was that spark that got you to do a live event? Because so many people are afraid to do a live event. Talk about some of the successes of that event, and then talk about 2017 version of this event.
Okay. So, you have to walk your walk, right, and walk your talk. So the beginning of last year, I had 11 VIP clients in my mastermind. And keep in mind, most of these women had been with me since the fall of 2013. So this was Q1 2016. And we were all heart-centered servants and experts in our field because we had stayed together and continued to grow our business, so each one of us was successful. I don't mean multimillionaires, but I mean no matter what happened, we were happy, healthy, and wealthy in every way, shape, or form, regardless of whether there were deaths or disaster. And the thing that I've been able to do, Stevie, and you can get me back on track in just a second, is to figure out why women don't trust each other and build that trust, because it only takes one bad apple. And I know exactly why women's groups don't work, and I know exactly what keeps us from gaining momentum. Okay, so take me back to what was I was telling you about Accelerate. Okay, so last year in Q1 I said to everybody, I do a retreat every quarter, I said, as heart-centered servants, why don't we create an event at the end of the year for women entrepreneurs and small business owners and a few smart men, so we don't say women, but primarily it is women, who want to take their business from good to great to extraordinary. And we had the skills, so 6 of the 12 of us were the presenters. And I didn't like business events where 2 things occurred. All the business events I go to have 2 things in common that turn my stomach. And I know they make money, but I don't care. One is hawking from the stage. Buy my stuff, run to the back of the room, buy my stuff. The other is all these sponsors who invest money. They've got 15-minute breaks when the attendees run out, get a cup of coffee, go to the bathroom, check their messages, and go right back into the session. They throw their business card in the gift basket at each one of these multiple sponsors, right? And then when you get home, you start getting barraged with emails from every one of those people that you dropped a card in. I didn't think that it was fair to have so many sponsors and not enough time for people to really get to know them. So that was my dream, that we were going to have this, and one of the other women came up with Excelerate Experience with this unique spelling, and that we would not sell anything from the stage, and that we would have long breaks and only a few sponsors. Now, what I will tell you is the only way I was going to do it is if everybody anteed up a certain amount of investment, because I had been privy to other first-time events where the leader took a bath financially. People don't always do what they say they'll do. And that's just being people. Very often when you start something new like this, you are financially left holding the bag. So I presented it to my mastermind, and I said, if you all are willing to kick in X without knowing how it's going to turn out, this is in March and the event was in October, that's the only way I'll do it. Well, it was 4 figures. There was a lot of confrontation and women stepping through their fear about money, especially being entrepreneurs without always having a consistent monthly income. Coming up with $1,000 or more is challenging, especially when you don't know if you'll be owing money at the end. So on faith, not only did we sell out, this was October 16th, and it was absolutely unbelievable, the results. Everything worked exactly as we planned. I wrote everyone a profit check after Thanksgiving. I
had to just be quiet for a second because I needed all that to sink in. What you just said, that is amazing. That is amazing what you just said on so many levels, because yes, that is not only a coaching step, but you did step out on faith with all of that, and then you got abundance at the end, and I think that definitely needs to be applauded, definitely to all of you who were involved, and I just wanted to make sure that I made that mark in the ground, that people heard that, because I heard it, and I wanted people to be blessed by what was said. So definitely, please continue. But I did want to stop before we just brushed over that, because that was profound.
Thank you. It shows that if you do it anyway and do it afraid, and for me as a leader, I had already seen people fail, and I didn't want to do it unless we were all in it together. And oh my goodness, it was just spectacular. Now, honestly, this year, I'm not doing it with 12 people, because I learned that, working with 12 women that are masters in their own right is very challenging. Although I'm really proud of everyone. They did a great job, especially that 6 of the 12 of them spoke, and only 3 of them were speakers. So the other 3 had to be coached about how to speak. One was a psychiatrist, and her method of presentation is like in education, which is 80% content, right? Heavy slides, heavy content, and 20% entertainment. But it's 80% entertainment and 20% content. So we had two people that were coached and learned how to present in front of this group of people. So it was for everybody. It was this huge dream. We all held the vision all year, and my greatest joy last year was writing those checks, because it could have been different, but we weren't going to let it happen. And so this year we're doing it again. This year we're taking another step, because last year it was about taking your business as an entrepreneur or a small business owner from good to great to extraordinary. What are the skills that you're ready for? Because you're not always ready for the skills when you get them, right? Because then when you get them again, when you're further along, sometimes they make a lot more sense and you're more ready for them. So when you're moving into extraordinary, what are the skills that you're ready for? This year, we're taking it a step further. What does it take to be the go-to person in your industry? To be the one that's bombarded with clients, which is the reverse of looking for them. And you think that those people that are industry experts have it made. They don't. Because I have a friend right now who is an industry expert, and she could barely breathe with all the clients. So there's a whole set of skills required to manage success. That's what this year is about. How do you position yourself as the go-to person in PR, right? And then how do you manage that? So what skills do you need? And then how do you manage life? Because everything is like upside down when this happens to anyone who becomes an expert. So there you have it. Does that give you everything you need, Stevie?
Yes, ma'am. I love it. I love it. I love it. And so definitely I want to make sure that we talk about anything that, may be coming up for you in your mind that we have not uncovered in this conversation, because we are fast approaching the end of our time together. But I do know that you may have something you desire to say. You're like, Stevie, we cannot leave this line without them knowing this. So I want you to say that, and then we'll definitely get your contact information so that people can stay connected to you.
Okay, great. So what I would like to say to anyone who is listening, you can be, do, or have anything you want. The only thing that's missing for us as humans is information. Learning is the miracle grow for us. We're the only living being that can take an idea and turn it into physical form. I have an idea to do a Sharpie, and then I am so excited that I create a Sharpie. Dogs can't do it, birds can't do it, bugs can't do it, only humans. So our gift is to learn, to continue to learn and apply, and learn and apply, and it's when we're the happiest. You can do it yourself, but you have to be willing to take the action. So wanting it is one thing. Willing to step through your own fears, you have to be willing to do that. You do that by wanting it more than your fear of doing it. So you do that by falling in love with what it is you want. So don't pick anything that you're not in love with, so that when those fearful things show up, the weight of your desire and your love for what it is you're doing will have you push right through your fears. And then you come out on the other side and go, well, it wasn't that bad. And by the way, I was really good at it. Now, for those who believe that they are ready, this is a woman and a few smart men who are already up at that swinging. They only need guidance, and they are ready to step into their greatness. They can request to be part of my mastermind program. It's a high-performance, high-yield mastermind program that's been running since October 2013, where I teach you and how to apply the principles of success and universal law. You have accountability, and I capture your results every quarter, and there's a lot. There's a membership site that goes along with it, which is the resources behind it. You can request to be part of this mastermind if you simply write to me at leslie@pathsofchange.com. That's paths like road of change.com. Now, the other thing that I have available, sometimes people think they really don't need the whole mastermind, and what they really want is someone to just keep them on track. So I have a wonderful little program I created with one of my clients called youraccountabilitypartner.com. And basically every quarter we set a goal together, and then each week I hold you accountable in about 15 or 20 minutes. And there's a task list, and we lay out everything that has to be done for you to reach your goal. You can reach me through leslie-flowers.com. Both those programs are available. You have to be willing to do what it takes. And you can want it, but if you're not willing, this just isn't the right time, and another time will be. Fair enough?
Yes. Fair enough. I love it. Thank you, Leslie, for coming by to have a conversation with me. I am energized on like a whole different level. I personally learned a lot, and that's what I enjoy doing here with the conversation. I know that I'll learn. I know that the listeners will learn, and those, like you said, who are ready will connect with you. So thank you again. Make it a great day.
You're welcome, my dear.
Yay. Everybody, we learned today about taking a high step, right? We learned about being in the sync of whatever we are doing, right? We have to be synced. Like they're saying, sync your phone, sync your iPod, sync all these things. You've got to be synced yourself with whatever God is telling you to do. And so what I know for sure is that Leslie Flowers is an amazing woman who just taught us a lot about just being in the flow. That's just an amazing thing. And not worried about these things that are not in the flow, but just being in that peace, in that mindfulness of mastering what it is that you've been called to do. So that conversation was phenomenal. You all know how to stay connected with me. All you have to do is to spell my first name the correct way, Stevii. You can find me at Stevie.com. You can find me all over social media. And, of course, you can find me here at The Conversation with Stevie. I never say have a great day. I always say make it a great day. Why? Because you, and yes, you too, have the power to do so. I'll talk to you later. Bye.